And so when he went to the other side and tried to unlock the door and saw the police looking at him, he was frightened. So he comes running from the other side. So now I'm frightened in the driver's seat. He's like, go, 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 go. Now, he doesn't tell me who's on the other side. So I'm just going and going because of what we've been doing the last 2 weeks. You know, what we've been doing the last 2 weeks and everything. And so I was terrified. And we get in, well, he gets in the car, and then we go back on 285. And all of a sudden, I just see a cop car behind us. Their lights weren't on, but it was slowly following us with distance. I get on the expressway, and the cop follows us on the expressway. So he's sweating and cussing and all this stuff, and it's late at night, and sometimes it's hard for me to see at night. So I had the high beams on, and I'm looking at my rear view, and I still see the cop pass us. We passed one exit, cop still behind us. And I'm like, well, he can't pull us over because he needs probable cause. Oh, we didn't do anything. I didn't think the robberies. So as we're going, I'm starting to see 2 more cop cars just sitting there on the ramp. The next one, next exit, Lawrenceville Highway. 2 more cop cars. The next exit, 78 is coming up. North Druid Hills, it's cop cars. So you know it's not that many street lights on that highway. And all of a sudden, I see this white light around the front of my car. And so I look up out of the, the window, and I see a helicopter. And I was so oblivious to this whole thing that they're after us. He's worried and all this, and I'm like, chill, I'm going the speed limit. There's nothing that they can do. I don't know, they're not after us. They can't be after us. The next thing I know, the cop cars start forming around my car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, who are they after? Next thing I know, the lights start going off. I was so scared. The lights start going off, the cop car lights went off. And you just hear it on the siren. Get out the car! Get out the car! And I'm 17 years old, and this is happening in the middle of the freeway at night. I was terrified. I was so scared. I was like, I gotta put the car in park. I gotta put the car in park. And so the next thing I know, they open up the car and they put the car in park. They put me in one cop car. They put him in another cop car. And the officer said was going back and forth, like stopped the whole traffic in the middle of the highway. And I would never forget, the officer said to me, he looks back, he's typing numbers in on the car, and he says, do you know what you're getting locked up for? And I said, yeah, I know what you're getting this locked up for, because my mom reported the car stolen. Because remember, she was calling and saying all kinds of different threats about the car just to get me to come home. So I'm thinking this whole thing is happening because my mom reported the car stolen. So as he's typing in the tag numbers, he looks back at me and he says, the car's not stolen. And in that moment, that's when I realized that my mom wasn't the enemy. That's when I realized that all she was trying to do was to get her baby to come home. I was in interrogation for 18 hours. And I didn't know that while they were interrogating me, that they released my boyfriend, but they kept me. And I guess that's because, I kept saying that he had nothing to do with it, he had nothing to do with it. So my mom found out that I was incarcerated because he was released for that short period amount of time. And I didn't know to ask for a lawyer. So I was sitting there for 18 hours of them trying to poke me, letting me just sit there and wait. So I was terrified because I didn't know what was happening next or anything. So because it was just so long, they put me into the holding cell and booked me in. Still haven't had a chance to call my mom and tell her what's going on. First time ever being incarcerated. Never had that. Then my mom was able to finally come visit me while I was in jail, and the first thing she said was, "I love you." She said, "I love you so much." And it wasn't that she was happy that I was incarcerated, but at least she knew where I was. Because for 2 weeks, I can only imagine being a parent now, not knowing where your child is. And they just up and gone. You have no idea. That meant a lot to me when she came in and said that. Of course, she was upset, but it meant a lot when she came and visited me in prison. Because sometimes you think your parents are like against you. You just think they just want you to have this rough life. You think like you're born and they just hate you or despise you, but really that's not the truth. Like when parents have their children, and I didn't really realize it until I had my own, you don't look at your baby and say, "I want you to just be some bad kid and not have a life." And so that loving and caring and nurturing kind of gets lost when you become a teenager, between the dynamics between parent and teenager. So just to hear those words when she came to visit me, it meant a lot. From that, my mom came every weekend to come visit me. And before I actually got sentenced, I had to sit in jail for 2 years, for 18 months to 2 years before they actually sentenced me to what was going to happen. Was I going to get probation? Were they going to give me another chance? This is my first time ever getting in trouble, and I didn't know if this was all going to happen. When I stood in front of the judge, because I took a plea deal, because going to trial is to see if you're guilty or not, and I knew I was guilty, right? This is something that I know that we did, so let me just go ahead and take a plea deal. So I was getting sentenced by a judge that wasn't really favored inside the jail, and she had a reputation of giving you hard sentences with no empathy or sympathy in the world. So I was terrified, like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and take the sentence, do my time, and let that be it. So I agreed to do 10 years, serving years in prison. But when I went up in front of the judge and they're reading it all, the district attorney's reading everything off. "Do you understand? Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand." And she starts writing. And she says, "I don't know what it is about you." And she keeps writing. She said, "But I can't give you probation or slap on first offenders because you knew what you were doing the first time, the second time, the third time, the 11th time. But the least I can do is to give you 10 years to serve 4 years in prison. But if you ever get sad, write me. I can't wait to see what you do with your second chance."